Hi everyone, welcome to Job Creators Radio Show, an international talk radio show focused on individuals, families, professionals, and organizations committed to meaningful employment for persons with disabilities. I'm your host, Sean Smith, founder of Don't Diss My Ability. I'm just going to check in to ensure that our special guest is with us. Today we have Steve Rohr, publicist for the Oscars, spearheading both domestic and international publicity for the annual telecast, aired live in the United States on the ABC television network and via broadcast partners in 225 different countries and territories to a worldwide audience of several hundred million. Prior to becoming a media expert and the show publicist for the Oscars, Steve founded and led his own LA-based entertainment public relations agency representing award-winning actors, recording artists, personalities, authors, and film. Steve's corporate clients included Sony Entertainment Music Group and Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. He's a member of the Television Academy, voting on Primetime Emmy Awards, and the Publicist Guild. So we're going to check in now to see if Steve is ready to join us. Hello, Steve Rohr.
Sean, hey there. Wow,
Hi.
I'd like to meet this person you just introduced.
Well,
It
talking
can't possibly
buddy.
be me. Can't possibly be me.
You know what? I know it seems surreal on my end, so I can only imagine how it feels on your end to be you.
Well, it feels great to be on this show, I'll tell you that. I really feel honored to be asked. Truly, truly. It's such an important topic, and you're doing such great work, Sean, and just a privilege to be a small part of what you're doing, a little bit of the journey here.
Small but significant, I have to say, Steve. Like having you on for what you do to help kind of, help us to kind of blow this up, to reach a larger audience is.
That's a good
definitely...
word. It's time to blow some stuff up, Sean. It's time to blow some stuff up. Well, I'm speaking as I like to say, a temporarily abled person, because we're all at some point in our lives are going to, be facing certain things that are going to be challenges for us. So, and I do believe that, the best people to speak on this topic are those who live with it every day. But, again, we've got to do this together. We have to work together because it involves all of us, and the impact is, personal, becomes very personal to everybody when you're talking about diversity issues, especially.
Well, and everybody knows somebody with a disability, right? Statistically, it's impossible not to. So this does affect everyone.
It's absolutely impossible. Yeah, in the United States here, 20% of the population is living with a disability of some sort. 20%. That's huge. Probably more. Actually, I don't know if these are self-reported numbers or how they're getting these numbers, but look, there's so much stigma around disability. Who wants to report that? So we might be dealing with huge, huge numbers. And when it comes to Hollywood, well, we're not doing such a great job, Sean. we're not doing a great job. 95% of the characters, who are disabled on television are played by able-bodied actors. That's the statistic that the Rudderman Family Foundation came up with. So we're not hitting the mark quite yet.
Well, and that, I find that really interesting. But recently, I know there has been a slight increase of actors with developmental disabilities in Hollywood. What is the positive impact of having individuals with disabilities in Hollywood?
Well, I think it's absolutely imperative. Absolutely imperative. Look, I look at acting as, a craft. I think it's illuminating the human condition, and we get to tell all kinds of stories that maybe wouldn't come to light. And I do believe that able-bodied actors can play disabled characters. That's, that is acting, that is bringing that to life. But if someone who is living with a disability plays a character who's living with a disability, I really think there's a richer experience there. I think that's really a deeper truth-telling. And I would like to see more of that because, at some level, the audience gets, off the hook when they see an able-bodied person playing someone who has a disability. In other words, look, this magical transformation, somebody who goes from being able-bodied to now playing somebody with a disability, then going to able-bodied again. And so then we can feel great about that. But again, the deeper truth is, look, this person is living with this, disability. They're playing somebody with a disability and they still have to live with it. And
right.
That's, I think, a different kind of approach. And you know what, Sean, I would like to see somebody living with a disability playing a character who is just a character, just a
right.
person living in their life. Wouldn't that be kind of nice? Wouldn't that be interesting? They don't have to play a character that is living with a disability. They're just a person. I think that would be is that wacky? Am I asking for too much here? This is, really.
Not at all. I think that's when we'll know when inclusion has actually happened.
Exactly. And you look at other models for the minorities in Hollywood. I'm Asian American, or Asian Canadian too. So, I take a look at that. And for so long, this issue has been a black and white issue, literally a black and white issue. I think that is a losing proposition. It is a no-win game because as soon as you make it black and white, that's what the stakes are. But I think the stakes are far greater. Guess who gets left out of the conversation when we talk about diversity? People living with disabilities, which is the largest minority population in the U.S. That's the fact of the matter. And always left out, almost always left out. Asian Americans also left out, so I'm feeling the pain. It becomes very personal. Asian Americans are the fastest growing minority population in the U.S., the fastest growing. People do not take Asian Americans into account. So at some level, it does, again, become personal to me. Because, look, if they're doing it to me, they'll do it to somebody else. And my life is enriched. My life is enriched by having all kinds of people, running in and out of it. That just makes life so much more interesting, fun. I think it makes me more interesting as a person. Like, look, I have different points of view. And we do know that when we have diversity, we're so much stronger. You see this in business, you see this in schools, you see this everywhere. Everywhere. The evidence is overwhelming that the more diverse voices you have in the room, the better decision making you'll have. And quite frankly, you'll have a lot more fun. That's really the truth of it.
Absolutely. And part of how we're doing this is the Trailblazing Conference. And I hope towards the end, we're going to open the lines up and we're actually going to give away 2 VIP tickets to Trailblazing. And I'm hoping you'll help me out with the contest.
Well, let me tell you, I am so sorry I'm going to miss that conference because you have some incredible speakers. It just so happens that I'm booked to be someplace else at the time. But if I had a magic, flying saucer, I would absolutely be there. Because you've got, Temple Grandin's going to be there, right?
We do, but in all fairness, you weren't able to attend, but you did set us up pretty well.
Did I?
Well, I mean, I'll let you share who you were able to connect us with.
Well, sure. So one of my heroes is Eileen Gruba, who is a phenomenal actress here in Hollywood. She is one of these people who is working. She's an absolute working actor. You've seen her on all kinds of shows. And she's also a person who will not let it go, will not let the idea that, okay, now I'm working, so that's good. It's that whole tokenism thing. I'm working, so I'm just going to just go about my business and be successful. No, Eileen Gruba is saying, wait a second, we need to be far more aware of people living with disabilities. We need to be much more welcoming into Hollywood. And so she's just been a great hero to me, and she's speaking, right? So this is going to be quite a phenomenal roster. And every day I see another great person show up. speaking as well. So Eileen Gruber, you've seen her on Criminal Minds, you've seen her on Bones, you've seen her on Masters of Sex, you've seen her on Dexter. You've seen her a lot on Sons of Anarchy. This woman is big time, and she's Actor Studio. And I don't know, Sean, if you're aware, but Actor Studio is hugely prominent in Hollywood and New York. It's the go-to place where actors are trained, and she's the real deal. But she's also the real deal because she's not willing to just work herself without looking back and looking around at her brothers and sisters and saying, wait a second, I can't be the only one doing this. But there are other great, people living with disabilities who are also advocating, and I think that is absolutely critical. Back to, and I can only speak from my experience, back to being an Asian American, Asian Canadian, you see, we can sit and blame, and we can say, look, okay, there are no Asian roles in Hollywood, and we know this is a catch-22. People say, well, we can't find any Asians to play these Asian roles, but all the Asian roles are then made into white roles, or they're played by white people. This is true. Historically, this is true, and that doesn't help us, right? So why would you want to ever go into acting if you're Asian when there aren't any roles? You wouldn't. But on the other hand, I think there's a responsibility for Asian Americans and Asian Canadians, Asians all over the world, to speak up and to say, wait, this is not good. This is not the way it should be. And we'd like to have a part to play, quite literally, in Hollywood. And so that means a lot of things. There has to be a bit of a cultural shift. I think that's happening right now, where Asians are not necessarily just going into math and sciences, and that's going to be what the deal is. I think there has to be more, creativity, and people have to be looking for creative outlets. But also, at the same time, there have to be Asian people standing up and saying, this is not okay. It is not okay. So what you're doing, Sean, is exactly the right thing. You're saying, this is not okay. It's not okay. Any way you look at it, you cannot justify it. I think it is morally wrong. I think that it is completely against everything that I believe in, for sure. But what we believe in as a society, what we talk about, yet we're doing it. So it takes somebody like you, it takes somebody like Eileen Gruber, it takes all of us to stand up and say, wait a second, no, forget it. We're not playing this game anymore.
And so do you notice a positive shift in television and film with an influx, people with a social conscience who are kind of stepping up and saying, we need to have individuals with developmental disabilities represented in television and film? Is there a shift happening? Because I see a little bit, but...
Yeah, I do feel a shift. Before, there was just nothing, right? Nobody would ever say anything. And it was just status quo, and people just took it for what it was. But, the more people are coming forward in general, talking about, the autism and spectrum, or talking about, living with, a disability, or, veterans coming back, the more you hear that, the more it just filters into society and eventually into Hollywood. So I am seeing more of it, and we can't stop. We can't stop. And I really do think, Sean, again, that the best people to advocate are the people who are living with disability. There's no question about that, because I can't come in and be a savior. Nobody can come in and be a savior. That just, kind of gross. That's not the way it works. But at the same time, people who are temporarily abled need to say something. They need to speak up, because it does impact all of us. It really does. And we know that, I don't want to get too political here, but, we have a president who mocked a reporter who, is living with a disability, a reporter he knew very, very well over many, many years, and then went on television and really, I think, did all of us a great disservice by making fun of this person in a very bullyish way. And he can say he doesn't know this person or whatever, but he does. It's verifiable.
Regardless, knowing or not knowing wouldn't make it right either way. And I think it's hard because we look to people of authority or people in media for someone we can relate to and to model positive behavior. And when it's not there, whether it be somebody in a position of authority or even somebody with a disability who's watching TV and not being able to see anyone like them to relate to or share that common experience, it kind of makes it seem like it's out of reach.
Thank you. You said it so much better than I did. You absolutely hit it. And then when like you said, when you have somebody in authority who is now modeling this, I think it's disgraceful behavior. It's absolutely disgraceful, whether it was the president or anybody else. It's just disgraceful. I was horrified. But then, what do kids think? And then you look on television, you look in movies, and you say, well, where am I? Where am I reflected in a positive way, or at least a way that is somehow normal? Because living with a disability, that's normal, right? That's normal. You've got all these challenges, but the idea that you're somehow fringe is ridiculous. If 20% of Americans are living with a disability, that's not fringe. That's a lot of people. So that I just had to get that in, because that was one thing that has haunted me, continues to haunt me. And again, I'm not great with bullies. I don't love me some bullies, and that's what it felt like to me. And it felt personal to me in many ways. It felt personal because it means that anybody who's different, is on the chopping block, is fodder for some kind of weird comedy. And it was absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Yep.
It's terrible.
A slight against one is a slight against all.
Absolutely. The one thing that I do want to say is, it's not only in front of the camera where we need to see some change and some activity with people living with disabilities and other minorities. Really, it's not just in front of the camera. There's so many great jobs in Hollywood where people can use their skills. So you've got writers, you have sound editors, you have directors, producers, costume designers, makeup artists, hairstylists. You've got all of these incredible jobs where I'd love to see more diversity. Number one, it's just good to have more voices in the room, better decisions, better quality of work. Number two, that's where a lot of the change can happen from within. So if you're in a writer's room and you don't have anybody living with a disability in that writer's room, and you're writing this character who's living with a disability, how authentic can that voice possibly be? I can only sort of guess. I can sort of imagine what it would be. Well, how authentic is that? Now, it can be done, but it doesn't mean it's going to be done in an authentic way. But imagine having a writer who actually lives with a disability writing that character. How much richer would that character be? Oh my gosh, it'd be night and day, I think. And that's where the difference can come from as well, from inside, within the industry. What about a director? Now look, people are going to say, well, that's maybe a lot of accommodation. Okay, now we have to accommodate. Oh, fine. Big deal. If it takes a little bit more understanding, a little bit more patience, big deal, because the impact and the benefits to all of us, I think, are enormous and far outweigh any kind of accommodation you have to make. Truly, truly, truly. And, come on. How difficult is it to open the door? It really isn't that difficult. And if you have to be a little bit more patient or a little bit more accommodating, fine. That's how I feel about it. Because again, we all get better from it. We all get better from it. We all benefit.
And I really feel that the shift is starting to happen. There are more roles for individuals who are not in a kind of less than light. Typically individuals with disabilities have been looked at as less than, and now there's a more empowering status or role for actors with developmental disabilities, where they're more empowered. And I see a shift, and I'm wondering, Steve, how do you envision we as the job creators movement can play a larger role in pushing inclusion in Hollywood beyond having this conversation?
Well, this conversation is huge, Sean. This conversation is huge. What you're doing has such an incredible impact. It does take people starting to tell the story. It does take people like you having the show, because I think what it does is it gives other people permission to speak up. It's tough to step out. Hollywood especially is a very tough town in many ways. It's highly competitive. And once you're in the door, you really don't want to jeopardize that. That's kind of the feeling. So you don't really want to rock the boat too much. But having other people step up and say, this is not okay, we need to make some changes, I think that is highly encouraging. And again, we'll give permission to step into the light and say, we need to also say something. But it also, I think, is a message to a lot of people who are aspiring Hollywood people that a change is coming, because I do feel a change is coming. The more you talk about it, the more you're in people's face, really, is when the change comes. I think that's where Asian Americans have been a bit late to the party. Every time an Asian role went to a white person, or every time an Asian character was written out of a project, there was not one word. Nobody said anything. It wasn't a big deal. I remember many years ago there was a show called The Other Half, and it was an answer to The View or The Talk or The Social. So you had 5 guys sitting around talking about issues. So you had the Latino guy, you had the African American, you had the older white guy, you had the younger white guy, and you were missing somebody, an Asian male. And nobody seemed to think that was a problem. Nobody said anything. Now, if there hadn't been a Latino or African American or a white person, well, I think that there would have been an issue with that. But nobody found it a problem. So speaking up, constantly being vigilant, and it can be exhausting, but the payoff will be huge. The payoff will be huge.
It is. It really is. And it's, no one ever said being awesome would be easy.
Well, I know, but being awesome can be awesome, right? It can be absolutely awesome, and it makes us all better. It really does. And it's not. I guess for me, it's really about doing the right thing when it comes right down to it. And I think people are pretty good at heart. I think that people really want to do the right thing, but they really don't know how to do the right thing. Even I get, sensitive to the fact that, I'm a temporarily able-bodied person, and what do I call people, and how do I be respectful to people? And I'm always nervous about that. I really am, because I think people should call themselves what they need to be called or what they want to be called. That's empowering. I don't get to choose what you're called, right? So I get a little nervous about that, which I have to get over or just, live with, but I have to move through it somehow. So when you're looking at, especially people with disabilities, maybe some people just don't want to offend. Maybe that's their thing, and so they're just going to avoid it altogether. But that's that's on us.
That's the reality. I think a lot of times, rather than saying something, people say nothing, which is the wrong approach. And we're entering. we're entering the 5-minute mark, Steve. So I want to make sure that we give these 2 VIP tickets away because it's just going to be nuts. So let's open up the lines to the callers. We've got a few people on. So Steve, I'm going to ask you to pick a number from 1 to 10, and I'm going to scroll through the list, and we're going to give some tickets away, buddy.
Okay. How about 9?
Lucky number 9. All right. Hello, caller. Hello, you are on the line. They were on hold, but no one's there now.
Okay, should I pick another number?
I'm going to wait 1 second and see if we... Hello, caller? Hello, caller. Let's just see. Hi there, you're on Job Creators. No one there. So let's pick another number, Steve.
Okay, it's my fault because I picked 9. So I'm going to pick because originally I was going to pick 3. Let's see if caller 3 is there.
Let's see. Hi
caller. There. Aaron Boma here.
Hey, Aaron. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Sean?
Good. You are live on the air with myself and Steve Rohr, and you are the lucky recipient of a VIP ticket to Trailblazing 2017.
Really? Holy crap.
Sure.
Holy shoot. Wow. That's great.
I'm really jealous.
And yeah. And how you doing, Steve?
I'm great. How are you doing? Well, you're doing great too because you just won 2 tickets to this great event.
Actually, one ticket. We've got one more to give away.
Okay, 1 ticket.
One ticket. One more to give away.
Okay, Aaron, where do you live?
Thanks.
Well, I live in Jacksontown, New Brunswick. So 1120 Route 560.
Oh well, let's get your address out. No. But just in general. Okay, got it.
I've got your number,
sorry,
Aaron.
sorry. Oh.
So that's all right. We're live, so you might not want to give that away. But I've got your phone number.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And,
of course.
And I'm going to let you go because we've got to get to another caller. But I've got your number, and someone will be in touch to let you know how you can get your ticket.
Okay, awesome. Now, are we able to talk about disabilities, or is it calling?
It's
What's
just
that?
I'm afraid today it's just a call in to give away the tickets. I've got to let you go because we've got to get to another lucky winner. But thanks for calling in.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay,
thanks, guys.
Have a great day. So,
nice guy.
He is.
All right, what about?
He's a local guy. He lives about an hour away from me. He's a very interesting guy.
Cool.
We had a few people
7?
hang up. So I'm 7. I'm just waiting for a few more callers to call in. But while we're waiting, I would like to recognize and say thanks to Florida Light and Power for sponsoring this episode. Huge shout out and thank you to them. They're also a huge sponsor for Trailblazing 2017. And
tell me again, this is Florida Light and Power?
Florida Light and Power.
I'm going to try to follow them right now on social media. Good for them. That's what it also takes. It takes people from the community and great organizations, great companies like Florida Light and Power to step up and say, we believe in this. I love that. I absolutely love that. So kudos to them. That's where it also happens from like-minded and courageous people. So great. That's awesome.
And so we're about to close. I just want to say, please remember, first, thank you, Steve, for coming on. You can find links to Steve's social media profiles on the Job Creators Radio Show website. Please follow and promote our guests as they continue to do the same for us. Steve has been a huge supporter of the Job Creators movement, Picasso Einstein, and Trailblazing, and myself, just my ability. So thank you so much for all of your support. I would
follow you anywhere, buddy. I would follow you anywhere. You're awesome. You're incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Thank you. Are you still there, Steve?
Yep, I still am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the show just ended.
Yep.
But thanks a lot. I don't think anybody can hear us.
No, well, if they can, I just want to say thank you, Sean. You know, I when I said it was a privilege to be on this show, I truly meant it, and I mean it because, you know, again, I don't have the challenges you have, and the fact that you've invited me into the world to be a bit of an advocate in some kind of way, you know, and I say that humbly. Believe me, modestly. It's not. I don't think I'm trying to save anybody here. But the fact that you.
I don't, Steve. I know you're the real deal, man. Like, there's no.
Well,
you know.
We're just all trying to do our part, right? You know, and it just, quite frankly, Sean, it just pisses me off the way people with disabilities are treated. It just pisses me off. I cannot. I get very, you know, and I try to stay calm about it, but it really, you know, it's so wrong. It is so wrong. And but I appreciate you allowing me to just to talk about it when I'm not the, you know, maybe I'm not the best person to talk about it, but I'm always doing it, so I appreciate it.
Well, and it needs to be done.
Yeah, this half hour went really fast, super fast.
I know it would.
So it's my gosh, but I loved it, and I hope that you got what you needed from me. And if you need anything else, of course, we're going to stay in good touch here. And
awesome,
the show will be put up, and then you know what? I haven't been putting any graphics up because your graphics are so awesome.
They're great. Picasso,
you know?
Einstein, man, like they're.
Oh my gosh, they're so good. You know, I usually put some together, or people help me put them together, and I was looking at those, and I was like, well, what can I do that's better? Nothing. So I just keep retweeting everything because it's awesome. But I think what you're doing is wonderful, Sean. You've really, look at you. When did we speak? I know we've got to get off this line, but I know we spoke.
January.
I don't know. It was, yeah. And look what you've done since January in 6 months. Is that nuts?
It's surreal. But, you know, a big part of it, Steve, is like I really just kind of keep my nose down and plug away, and things happen. I'm really kind of breaking.
You're doing it. You're becoming one of the voices. Did you realize that? You really are. You're becoming this. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I know you're very humble, but you know what you're doing is so important, and I'm so proud to know you. So proud to be your friend, because what you're doing is critical, and you're actually doing something. There are a lot of people who just sit around and, you know, talk about it. You're like on the radio now, you're doing this conference now, you're like running all over the world now. You know, come on. It's really impressive. And I guarantee you that what you're doing is making a difference. It's made a difference in my life and made a difference, you know, I know in a lot of people. You know, look at all these people who follow the show and are following you, and many, many more will. Many, many more. You're blowing up. So, yeah. So in a few years, please take my phone call. And
hey man, I'm hoping at some point I'll be able to hire you. I'll be able to afford your services. That's my
you know
goal.
what for what you're doing, you know, it's really important that you know, you keep going. I think it organically will happen for you. It already is. The door's open. You're going through it, and it's just going to keep going. Mm-hmm.
People find me like
they do.
I break conventional business models because people will say, like, you know, how do you reach people? And really, like, I have conversations with people, and they see the value in what I do, and then they offer me work instead of me saying this is what I do and trying to find it.
That's right. And your network is getting bigger and bigger. And with Picasso, I always get this wrong. Einstein, right? Picasso, Einstein.
Right.
That's, I don't know who they are or where they came from, other than they're incredible, and what they're doing is such, you know, valuable work. And to pair with them, I think, is fantastic. So you're doing everything right. Doing everything right, Sean.
Well,
and of course,
that
anything
means,
that I can
means
do
a lot
to
coming
help.
from you.
Well, you know, I'll just do my little part, and I'm here if you need me. Sure.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it. More than happy to do it. All right, I'll let you go. And
All right, man.
what else do we need to talk about? That's it.
That's
Obviously,
it.
we're gonna be connected a lot here. And when it posts, then I'll put it out there for people to listen to. So just tag me on whatever, and then I'll put it out.
They're pretty good. Like sometimes they'll have it out. It's always out the same day. So it could be 30 minutes from now. It could be a couple of hours, but they're pretty good about getting it out. And I'm going to, when we hang up, I'm going to send the email to connect you to Different Brains.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, they're great, man. They're also another great company.
You're incredible. You're my hero too. Yeah, I mean, as my hero, you're my hero too. Really, truly. And again, thank you. And I will see you online.
Yeah.
Fighting the good fight, you know? We just keep going. Because, you know, a lot has happened, but there's a lot more to do. Always. Okay.
All right, man. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. All right.